Be sure to subscribe to WXOU Sports on YouTube. WXOU Sports is the place to be for all things sports from your favorite college radio station. WXOU Sports features live audio broadcasts of all Oakland University home games, including men's and women's basketball. They also feature interviews with athletes and coaches, with highlights and more. Just go to YouTube and search WXOU Sports and hit subscribe. Now, back to the show. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, Oakland men's basketball game reviews. I am your host, Giovanni Moceri, reminding you to please rate, review, and subscribe to the GioMoShow for weekly coverage of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. And this week, I wish I had better news to report for the only game played this past week in the arena on Kay Felder night. An unfortunate loss of the Golden Grizzlies against the Youngstown State Penguins, 84-75. A poor showing at home. And joining me today is the color commentator, the analyst for WXOU Sports, who was commentating and colorizing the radio broadcast on WXOU. Harjun Buttar, former sports director of the station, joins me today. What's up, Harj?
What's going on, Joe? Thank you so much for the invite.
Of course, and I remember specifically talking to you after the arena. Your headset came off a couple of times throughout the game, so I know you got a little bit of your takes on this game here, so I can't wait to break it down with you.
Yeah, it was an emotional game for sure. I think it was kind of amplified by the fact there was banner night for Kay Felder, and we were all really, really hoping that they would eke out the win, and didn't turn out that way.
No, it did not, and especially it kind of goes along with the previous home game against Northern Kentucky. It was kind of a similar feel where you gave up over 80 points at home when you're in a dire situation to get into top four, and it's just nothing there is what it felt like.
Yeah, it was the exact same score line, 84-75, as it was in Northern Kentucky game. Exact same one. Youngstown came into that game after losing to IU Indy at home, and I think that there was some fire lit under their butts. I remember listening to their coach before the game talk about how they were going to come in with a lot of energy. They knew what they were capable of. This was a team that came into the Horizon League with a significant win streak, and they put it on display, and Oakland came out the complete other way. They also lost at home, and they just, instead of looking like a team that was trying to overcome a bad loss, they looked really flat, and unfortunately they just couldn't get out of their own way.
And part of being in their own way was 13 turnovers in the first half and 1 of 6 from the free throw line. Just stuff you don't usually see. And I noticed that they had Mukeba and Baru handling the ball, like even for just a few seconds. It was enough for them to get pickpocketed, but 13 times in one half, like it almost doesn't matter whatever else happens.
No, and Youngstown is a very aggressive physical team. They do go after the ball quite a bit, and it was mostly, to your point, it was mostly Baru and Mukeba who were the culprits of a lot of the turnovers. They did not do a good job of distributing the ball when Youngstown got handsy, and when they tried to get into the paint, it was as if they'd never seen a basketball before. And we've seen how high quality both Mukeba and Baru can be in terms of their execution. We've seen Baru be slippery, but it just I just think that they were lackadaisical coming into that game. I think 5 days in between that and Northern Kentucky game was it didn't seem like it was enough time to overcome what happened against the Norse, and it just kind of translated over to the Penguins game.
And I'm put some numbers to it, having the box score in front of me. A three-way tie for turnovers with 4 each between Baru, between Mukeba, and Jalen Jones, all having 4 each by the end of it, and a few more sprinkled in there for, I believe they ended with 18 turnovers. So they cut most of them in the second half, but that's still at the end of the game, 18. And I wish there was more, especially when I was coming out of the game, I wish I had more to say, but even if you're making the shots that you're not, let's say it's flipped between the shooting percentages of both teams, it's the number of possessions. Even if they were shooting lights out, they still probably would have been behind given how many possessions they give up.
Yeah, exactly. And Youngstown wasn't shooting with a ton of confidence coming into this game. We saw that they had brought back E.J. Farmer from injury, and he was an electrifying force. This happens a lot with Oakland, where one person on the other team just kind of takes over. And when Youngstown's shooting with confidence, there's no stopping them. It was like that Purdue-Fort Wayne game last year where the Purdue-Fort Wayne shot 65% from three. Obviously, Youngstown didn't hit those numbers. I think they shot like sub 30, but still, they were taking a large number of shots. And at the end of the game, Oakland was doing a good job defending them. Youngstown was shooting with a tremendous amount of confidence. And when you're shooting with a tremendous amount of confidence, you're going to hit a lot of shots. And it kind of got out of hand towards the end of the game, and Oakland just wasn't able to do anything to kind of respond.
Yeah, and I noticed, by the end of the game, I got the numbers in front of me. They were 29.4% from deep. But early in that game, they were up into, the mid-40s before it started to taper down, especially in that second half. But it's, E.J. Farmer, like you were mentioning, 25 points, was 7 of 8 from the free throw line, just able to execute with what they were being given. And it's just, now putting it into perspective of the Horizon League standings, man, it was a bummer to drop both to Northern Kentucky and to Youngstown State at home because, before those two games, the stage was set for the last 7 games or the last 9 games. You win the 5 at home, you split the 4 road games, and then you got a shot at top 4, and it's we're already behind schedule for the standings, being at 6th place.
Yeah, Youngstown was, looking back on it, must win. Oakland had to come away with a win there because they are still playing the top 3 teams in the Horizon League. They're still on the schedule. They play Cleveland State at home, which, if you look at the schedule for Oakland, they've actually played worse at home in the Horizon League than they've played on the road. So I'm not sure how much of an advantage that's going to be. But then they play Purdue-Fort Wayne on the road, and they play Milwaukee on the road. Notoriously, that Wisconsin road trip has been a lot for teams to handle. And I think it's just going to come down to Oakland's going to have to steal a game that a lot of people aren't expecting them to win. It's going to have to be one of those 3, Cleveland State, Purdue-Fort Wayne, and or Milwaukee, because everyone thought that this game was winnable. Both of the last 2 games were winnable, Northern Kentucky and Youngstown. And so Oakland's going to have to show out against IU Indy on Wednesday or tomorrow, and they're going to have to really this is an inflection point for Oakland. They're really going to have to change the way that they look at preparation, not necessarily game preparation, but just getting into the mindset of those games, because we've seen what they're capable of. They beat Fort Wayne at home, and we know that they are capable of winning these against these top level teams. It's just going to come down to, does Oakland believe that they're going to win against these top level teams?
Yeah, it sucks to where yes, we can beat teams like Purdue-Fort Wayne, but now you have to, and that feels much different than the earlier in January when we beat them at home. It's oh, that's awesome, that's going to be useful later. Now you have to. Mm-hmm. You really these games, you pretty much have to tightrope it all the way to the end of the regular season if you want that top 4. But looking at the standings, you got Robert Morris currently at the 3rd spot, 10-5. They're tied with Youngstown State at the same record at 4th place, and you're already 2 games behind Milwaukee, who's jumped down a few spots. It's a difference of at least 3 games between you in 6th place and that 4th place spot. Mm-hmm. It's tough.
Yeah, and we've heard that Greg Campy's goal has always been to get a top 4 spot, but even breaking into 5th is going to be hard. And it eventually, if they stay at 6th, I think they get a home game in the first round. But Green Bay is going to knock someone off eventually, and that's who they're going to end up playing. So Oakland's in a tough spot here. They're going to have to winning out is unreasonable considering how Oakland's playing right now, but they're going to have to steal a game. They're going to have to beat IU Indy on Wednesday, Detroit Mercy on Sunday, and then they're going to have to beat Green Bay in the final game of the year. Those all have to be wins in order for Oakland to even consider themselves in the conversation for a top 4 spot.
Now let's break down tomorrow's game because we're recording this on Tuesday night. Away at IU Indy, and they're currently at the 10th place spot, but 4-11 is the 10th place spot. Already a huge difference from them and Detroit Mercy being one of the 2 worst teams in Division I, but a whole lot of University of Indianapolis from Division II coming into that program, and they're dangerous, especially with some of their star players individually.
Exactly, and not only do they have players from University of Indianapolis, but their head coach is also from University of Indianapolis as well. So there is a ton of chemistry. These guys know their coach like the back of their hand. I draw the parallel between last year when we had Lampman and Townsend, and they had been at Oakland for 4 years. They knew Campy like the back of their hand, and I think that worked in their favor. And IU Indy's record is not reflective of the type of team that they are. They've caught a lot of bad breaks, and they did beat Youngstown on the road. The other thing that's concerning is Northern Kentucky and Youngstown had their way from beyond the arc, and they're not, on the season, they're not great three-point shooting teams, but IU Indy is. Mm-hmm. And IU Indy has a chance to get very dangerous from beyond the arc, and very quickly make this a concerning game for Oakland if they can't respond on offense.
Yeah, because I got with the stats here, IU Indy is third in the Horizon League in three-point shooting. Their team is 36.5%. We're still down at the 11th place spot, 29 flat percent. So even from that alone, it's like that. You know, when we play from the post and you're scoring twos, but they're going on the other end and shooting threes, and Oakland can't keep up with that from deep. So that in and of itself is going to put them in a situation. And, you get Paul Zelinskis, third in the league in scoring. He's first in three-point shooting. He's first in three-pointers made per game. It's like that even as an individual player, as an individual matchup for the team, like this could get ugly, but it can't, or else Oakland season is really toast.
Yeah, Oakland is, like we said, they're at an inflection point right now. They're going to have to decide what kind of team they want to be. And unfortunately, IU Indy is not the team that you want to face while you're figuring some stuff out, because they're dangerous. Like you said, they're very dangerous. And whatever little confidence that you have can be completely burnt away if you allow guys like you said, Zelinskis, and I think Jarvis Walker to just absolutely demolish you from outside the perimeter. And hopefully Oakland's defense, which has kind of been suspect as of late, especially defending the three, hopefully they can step up. We've seen them do miracles for Oakland. Kept it at a 1-point game against Arkansas, kept it at a reasonable margin on the road against Illinois. All these really big teams, we've seen Oakland's defense really show out, and hopefully they might have to rely on their defense quite a bit to stop IU Indy from running away with this game. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to see how it turns out, and will the wind re-enter the sails of the Golden Grizzlies, or will the ship start sinking? Is what we'll find out tomorrow night in Indianapolis. Tip-off at 6:30. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And it's been a lot of fun having you, Harj, onto the GioMoShow Game Reviews. Thank you for stopping by.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
And be sure to subscribe to WXOU Sports to get the live broadcast that the student radio station has for you, many of which include Mr. Harjun Buttar here. You can follow him on Twitter as well. We'll have all the information in the description below. And we thank you for tuning in to the GioMoShow. Be sure to subscribe for weekly coverage of the Golden Grizzlies, and we'll see you next time.